It gets denied. Smith clears that stick out of the way.
Mike, man, people need those things to play with. Come on now. But I guess it wouldn't be hockey season if something utterly bizarre didn't happen. What's going on, everybody? JD here, and welcome to the inaugural episode of the American OILER Recap Show, brought to you by, yes, an American. Each week, I will be taking you through the best, and sometimes the worst, of the Edmonton Oilers and their affiliates, the AHL Bakersfield Condors and the East Coast League's Wichita Thunder. Now, I, for one, am super excited that hockey season's back. Love seeing the boys in copper and blue flying up and down at Rogers Place. Now, granted, I grew up in Capitals country, so obviously I had to put up with that disappointment for year after year after year. So I can't exactly say that I know anything about the decade plus of darkness, but I do. Is the thing. I understand it. The boys got their season underway at Rogers Place, hosting the Vancouver Canucks. And who else to open the Edmonton Oilers scoring account for the season? The 50-goal man himself, Leon Draisaitl. Now, obviously, there's the discussion of, do you put Draisaitl with McDavid? Do you have him center his own line? I believe the starting lines of this game, he was centering that second line. The boys had to turn it around in the third, but goals from Zach Kassian and Connor McDavid. Of course, who else? Connor McDavid. Situated the boys with their first 2 points of the season. Much needed after seeing how last season went. Let's be real here. Some of the big question marks. The D-core. Dave Tippett wanting to go left-hand shots down the left side of the D pairings and righties down the right side left a lot of openings for some of the young kids to come up and take it. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people were sitting on Ethan Bear, myself included. However, he acquitted himself quite well in that game. Sure, a -1 on the ratings, but 15 and a half minutes on the ice, a minute of that on the power play. This kid's setting himself up to do good things in the copper and blue. Now, speaking of that defensive core, the injury bug plaguing the Oilers again. Adam Larsson took an absolute ripper off of his ankle in the first period. Still managed to put up just over 22 minutes of total ice time, 3.5 of that shorthanded. Turns out from that play, Larsson is out 6 to 8 weeks. Fractured right fibula, the diagnosis. They moved him to the LTIR. Now, there were some paper moves because of this in order to maximize that amount of LTIR cap space versus the regular cap. Money stuff that an American really doesn't understand, especially an arts major and not a business finance. I'll have to put that off to some of my smarter friends. Bouchard got called up, then sent back down. Lagesson was moved up in that transaction as well. Bear was sent down, then called back up. It was a whole thing. As it all stands now, Bear is in the National Hockey League. Lagesson has been sent back down to Bakersfield. Also on the defensive front, the big Swede, Joel Persson, activated from injured reserve, made his debut Saturday night. We'll get to that shortly. I, for one, am really big on Joel Persson's upside. He brings that heavy right shot to this Oilers team. He's a physical player. Sure, he's got to adjust to the smaller ice of the NHL from playing over, I believe it's pronounced Växjö, the Lakers over in Sweden. Powerhouse team a year before. They lost some players. Persson stepped into that first pairing over there, really acquitted himself well, and now we get to see him in Edmonton. But before we get to that Saturday matchup with the LA Kings, the Condors opened their regular season slate Friday night at Mechanics Bank Arena, hosting the San Diego Gulls. Honestly, a team that was a thorn in their side last year. That series in the Calder Cup playoffs went 4-2 to the Gulls. 3 of those matchups being decided in overtime, including a thrilling quadruple overtime game that saw the Gulls win 3-2. However, Bakersfield has lots of their top prospects on that roster. Honestly, it's forcing a lot of guys outside of the roster. And 2 of those prospects getting on the score sheet for the Condors, Josh Curry and Kyler Yamamoto, putting 2 goals in the first period. That would be enough to see the Condors win that game by a final of 2-1. Now, I'm big on Kyler Yamamoto. He's not a big force on the ice. He's not a tall guy. He's honestly, I think, the skinniest guy in that organization right now. But he once he gets his shooting hands back on him, he had wrist surgery in the offseason. Once he gets back to 100%, he's going to be knocking on the door to play in Edmonton by the time this season is over. Honestly, if he doesn't get a call-up, if and when the injury bug strikes at the top tier, I would be really surprised if Yamamoto does not see, I don't know, maybe 10 games in Edmonton this year. What do I know? I'm an American. And Josh Curry, got his first goal in an Oilers jersey at the end of last season. Another name that I felt was gone a little too quickly from training camp. But again, that's why they hired Dave Tippett and Ken Holland to make those decisions and not leave it to the armchair GMs that both myself and a lot of Oil Nation are. But anyways, on to Saturday with a doubleheader, Edmonton versus LA and their respective American League affiliates. The Condors and the Reign going at it. Late games for you, boy, on the East Coast. Late games. I'll be honest, I had to watch them the next morning because the way my job works, and then by the time I get around to doing this stuff, I'm long asleep by the time any of these games are, I almost said teeing off, this isn't golf, by the time any of these games are dropping the puck. So full disclosure, I watched the Oilers game at the gym the next morning and was really surprised to see how adventurous Mike Smith was. Man, what are you doing? You've already thrown a man's stick. Try not to throw away our results for the rest of the year. Now this game, while it's still only the second of the season, proves to me that this Oilers team has more depth already than they did the entirety of last year. Take Gaetan Haas, for example. Played 2 minutes and 11 seconds on Wednesday night against the Canuck. 2:11, fam. Turns around and puts up 12:18 on Saturday against the Kings. A minute 47 of that on the power play. Also had a beautiful face-off play drawn up that got another Swedish man, Joakim Nygard, his first goal of the season. Cannot wait to see this man flying around on the ice. Honestly, could see him slotting in top six with Connor McDavid, along with another youngster that was on the Calder Cup winning club last year, the Charlotte Checkers, that being Tomas Jurcho. He made a man look foolish in that third period to set up Darnell Nurse for the game-tying goal. And then the real deal, James Neal, coming into Edmonton, putting up 2 in this game with the Kings. Honestly, everyone had to score to overcome Mike Smith's blunders. Calgary, thanks for swapping us James Neal for Milan Lucic. Have fun having him sit in the penalty box for 10 minutes a night, socking people in the face. Now, the Condors took on the Reign at the same time. Their parent clubs were going at each other. Ontario's goalkeeper, Cal Peterson, did not allow a shot in his first game of the season to get past him. That changed in this game with the Condors. Josh Curry and Kyle Yamamoto again scoring, but this time it was not enough. Ontario takes this game 3-2. Cal Peterson named the CCM/AHL Player of the Week. 83 of 85 shots turned away. That's a .976 save percentage. Ontario's gonna make a run in the American League. I really do think so. Of course, I'm biased here. I think Bakersfield's going to as well. That team is deadly. Could make another run at the Pacific Division. And if something swing their way, if Shane Starrett and Stuart Skinner ball out like Starrett did last year, if that tandem works well together, this team could make a run at the entire Western Conference. Call me biased, call me an American, but it could happen. It really could happen. So Edmonton sits joint first in the Pacific with Vegas and Anaheim. Both of those teams won their opening games and both sit at 4 points. Calgary's 1-1 at 2 points. LA obviously lost to the Oilers. Arizona is 0-2. Vancouver 0-2. San Jose 0-3. Rough start for the Sharks this season. The Condors sit 1 point off a joint first in the Pacific Division. Ontario with 4 points. Stockton with 4 points as well. Wichita drops the puck this week on Friday at Intrust Bank Arena against Indianapolis. They go back-to-back the next day. They're at home against the Rapid City Rush. Condors back in action Sunday afternoon at the SAP Center going against the San Jose Barracudas. The Oilers in action tonight on Long Island against the New York Islanders. Mikko Koskinen slated to start in goal for the Oilers, getting his first start of the season. Should be interesting. Mike Smith played really well in the season opener and that game against LA, barring his little adventures, let's call them. We'll have that recap next week on the AOR. Appreciate you hanging out today. I won't bore you with the like and subscribe pitch, but would appreciate you if you did. Until next time, we'll see you.